Hello, this is a test run right now. We are going to go live shortly, but right now I'm doing a test run with my special guest for today. So again, this is just a test run. So if you tune in, just hold tight because I'll be going live again shortly. I see my friend is here. Okay, so let's see if I can add her in right now. Hey,
Hey, okay. So I guess this
you like
works.
that position? Huh?
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to be comfy wumpy.
Okay, okay.
Let me
Well, I'm
see.
gonna go off because people are starting to join on. So, actually, you know what? We'll just stay on. And okay,
Okay.
I'll just let everybody know that we're kind of just doing a test run right now, and in a couple of minutes we'll go live with the conversation. So just get settled. You cool?
Yeah. Now, how do I make this live on my page, or is it automatically doing that because I'm on?
That's a good question.
Sure.
You stumped me with that one. I don't know how you can go live on your page because I know that when you press live, it's gonna go from whoever's going live.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know
it
if you could do like
said
co-live.
I think you automatically co-live. Girl, don't give
I
me the
think
line. You know this.
okay,
I, I don't know, child.
okay,
Hey.
okay. So welcome everyone. I see people are joining in right now. Good to see you all joining in. LaTanya, are you able to see the time? Because I can't see the time because my phone is on the
11:07. So we're 3 minutes
11. Okay,
we
okay.
we early.
So
We're not on CP time. We're early.
we are early. And maybe while we're waiting, if those who are here already, hey, Tanya, how are you? My previous guest. So if you are on now, if you could just put in the chat where you are from, where you're calling in from, or where you're tuning in from. And also, what we would love to hear also is your motivation for being here today. So, LaTanya and I are going to be talking about a very lively topic related to interactions, amongst Black women in the workplace. And so, love to see you too. I see that. This is Glow Love 98. Hi, love seeing you. Thank you. Okay, Rochester, New York. What'd you say, LaTanya? Carson.
Carson in the house. I said, Low Love is my girl from DC. Is my
Okay,
girl for like 20
Chicago, my
years. So
place,
people,
my hometown.
all right.
Okay, more people are joining in. And again, if you could just write in the chat, what motivated you to come to our IGTV Live today? We'd be interested in seeing what motivated you to come. Because I know we all have different experiences. And again, we just appreciate you tuning in today. What time is it, Tanya?
1:59.
11:59. Okay, so we are almost there. Okay, so thank you for indulging us. We were just doing like a practice run, and I was like, let's just stay on. It doesn't make any sense to go off and then come back on again. Okay, so I'll get started. So my name is Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. And I supported my girl, I see that. And I have Lifting as we Climb Consulting, Wellness Services, where my channel focuses on supporting the healing of our people individually and collectively. And today I have my special guest again, who is my sister friend, LaTanya Tolan. So I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself, and then we'll get right into it.
Yes. Okay. So first, I'm gonna say Glow saw me going live, so that supports what I thought that it's a co-live. Thank you, Glow. Get me together, child. Hey, everybody, I'm Tolan, and I am the founder and CEO of Soul Care for Black Clinicians, where we provide mental health services, coaching, counseling, and other supports to Black healing professionals. So other therapists, doctors, nurses, EMTs, whoever you are, we got you. Okay.
We got you. We got you.
Yeah.
Yes. And I want to welcome you again, LaTanya, for being here again. Well, you already know you're my sister friend, so of course you're always welcome back. And the name of this episode for everyone is All Kinfolk Ain't Skinfolk, okay? And we know that Zora Neale Hurston.
The reverse, all skin folk and kinfolk.
Oh, that's right. All Skinfolk ain't Kinfolk. That's right. So in terms, see, my sister friend, is she showing me sisterhood in action, right? Right, right. So Zora Neale Hurston, came up with that quote, and it really just talks about, as Black people, often we see another Black person and we feel a sense of kinship, or we feel that we can trust that person and that person will have our back. And unfortunately, we have encountered situations in which the person does not have your back. So today we're going to be talking more in terms of these experiences of toxic work experiences when the person or the people causing you harm has been another Black woman. Okay, because that adds another layer on it. So we're going to have a more in-depth conversation about that. In the previous episodes, we may have touched upon it, but we're going to take a deeper dive today. And I also want to say that this conversation is rooted in sisterhood. So as you're seeing right now, as my sister helped me out right now, as I got the quote mixed up, right? This is sisterhood in action. And so I'm so glad that I'm able to have this conversation with my sister friend, right? And I want us to be very clear that our conversation, as you're joining this conversation, this is about sisterhood, and this is about showing our commitment, how much we believe in sisterhood, that we are having these open conversations, because we know these things happen, and many times we don't talk about it in the open. We talk about it to one another, but we need to be able to talk about these issues and address it and talk about some tips about how to move forward, right?
And I piggyback on that. Of course, all that you said was dead on, but on top of that, for the women, when you hear us talk about issues that have happened to us, if that is you, like you are the person perpetuating this, we also want you to be better, So it's not just about the people that it's happening to. No, there are some of y'all, some of us, okay, that are acting a damn fool with our sisters, and you got her straight up.
Yes, yes. And who best to tell you but your sister, right? To call you out and take a moment to self-reflect, because we know, LaTanya, that when our sisters are acting badly like this is a reflection of their own stuff, their own mess, their own misery, right? But then they're projecting it out on us. And so, yes, it's important for us to recognize we're not alone if this has happened to you. But if you are one of the people who is perpetuating this is a wake-up call for you to kind of step up and really get the healing you need so you do not engage this behavior, right? So we're going to kind of just go back and forth in terms of talking about different experiences that we've had with Black women who caused us harm in the workplace, okay? So LaTanya, I'll have you start, and then I'll kind of just chime in with you about experiences you've had in the workplace with a Black woman or Black women who have caused you harm.
You're so funny. You said or Black women, because you already know it's been multiple. You know that I can laugh at now, but the damn sure what was happening.
True that. True that.
So yeah, it's I'll just start by saying it's very disgusting and very, you low key as Black people, we kind of anticipate these types of interactions from other folks.
Right.
That don't even faze me, to be honest.
Right. Right.
I could care less, right?
Right.
But when it's a Black person, a Black woman, or a Black man perpetuating these types of hurts and pains upon us, be like twofold.
Yeah.
You are, and we're talking about women, so I'll say, women, because you are my sister, whether you view yourself of that or not, right?
Right.
How I get down is that if we're from the diaspora, point blank and period, that's it. We're sisters. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Right now, the other part is that it also hurts me because that shows me how deeply you are hurting, that you weigh that onto someone else.
Yes.
And for people that know me, see me, whatever. Like, this is me. I'm always happy, smiling, jovial, clowning, whatever. So for you to perpetuate that nastiness onto me, it screams how badly you are injured.
Yes,
How
yes. And let me add to this too, LaTanya, right? So not only in terms of you should know better, right? Because all of us, for us to get to where we are, we have to go through so much as Black people, as Black women, right? So to be able to overcome all these things and to get here and to be treated badly by your sister, it's what's the
yeah.
point of this, right?
But
Mm-hmm.
but you know, back to it, I'm gonna go way back. It takes you back to like Willie Lynch, straight up.
Yes,
We were
yes.
designed to be divided. So for people that don't view another Black woman as someone that they should be loving on and mindful
Mm-hmm.
about how person, that you way back in the Flintstone, you know what I'm saying? You way back in slavery time, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so you have to also look at issues like internalized racism, you know,
Yeah.
and just your own lack of self-worth and
Yes.
self-hate and all
Yes.
these other people, you know, because we know however you treat other people is how you feel about yourself.
Yes.
Straight up.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so that I want to set that as the
And
context, you
also
know, first
buying
and
into that notion of competition. And that, as you said before, Willie Lynch, but Willie Lynch also taught us that only one Black person can make it, right? Only one Black person is the good Black person, right? So
yep,
that good Black person, nobody else can be elevated to that point because that's the good Black person. And as
right.
Dr. Joy DeGroy talks about, if you have not seen Dr. Joy DeGroy, please see anything that she presents on. But she talks about, we know in our history, the house and then the slave, right? In terms of the field, right? And so the differences in terms of divide and conquer, right? And so she talked about how I'll say house Negro, right? So how the house Negro was so aligned with the master that person was even more oppressive than the master or the overseer. And so she calls these people either Stevens or Stephanies,
Yep,
right? And so I remember, LaTanya, one time you told me about a Stephanie,
yep.
right? And I didn't want to believe it, right? So these are people who may present a certain way, that they are pro-Black or things like that, but they are doing things to undermine you. And so I just wanted to say that too, in terms of that whole notion of competition. There's one thing of seeing somebody like, I see LaTanya and I'm motivated by you, right? So, like when you left your job and you were doing your thing, I was like, wow, okay, that encourages me to do it, right? And then when I see or I hear or I have ideas about you, I'm calling you, texting you, girl, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Right?
Uh-huh.
Right. So
Facts.
you motivate me. But the part about the competition, that's the part I've always gotten tripped up on, because I see other Black women as a source of inspiration for me. If you're doing something better, I want to uplift you. I want to see, wow, how can I follow in your path? How can I push you, right? And so this whole notion of competition has been very hard for me and very painful. I think that's where the sting comes in for me.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely feel that. I think a big part of it too is, again, it goes back to you not feeling good about yourself.
Yes.
I know I'm dope as hell. I don't have to compete with nobody. I'm in LaTanya's lane, okay? And
Yes, you are.
it's the lane that the Lord Himself has created for me, and I'm good, right?
Yes.
So, but that isn't everybody's story. So
Yes.
we support each other, and we do the things that we do. There's other women, other Black women that look at us and wish that they could be in alignment with us, but they're so out of alignment with themselves that
Mm,
do is hate on us and be nasty,
mm,
right? And
yes.
it's despicable. There's someone that had put a comment about, she noticed that by passing by other Black women, sometimes it's hard for Black women to look each other in the eyes.
True
To me,
that.
that's a self-esteem.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I mean, it's just bad like that. Like, you don't want to look
Yes.
until you want to do something mean to me.
Right. It's kind of like this, right? So I don't want to acknowledge your humanity. I don't want to even acknowledge you. You don't even exist. Your worth means nothing because I'm not going to acknowledge you. But also, what does that mean in terms of what we've been taught and many times in society about Black women? Look what we're seeing on reality shows. All these things saying that we can't trust one another. Black women are catty. Black women are this, right? So there's so much negative social pressure that we have. And coupled with what you're saying in terms of that insecurity and then that whole historical part, the whole divide and conquer. So there's a lot of things that are really threats to our sisterhood, but we are having this conversation today to affirm sisterhood. So I know we keep going back. I keep interrupting you. Da, da, da. So let's.
It's not your hell, this is your show. You know what I'm saying?
But that's how we communicate anyway.
Right. Is yeah, you got sauce offline. This is us all day long, right?
Right. So going into a conversation in terms of experiences that you've had with Black women in the workplace that was not supportive or was toxic.
Yeah. Oh God, I've had several, unfortunately, and I'll talk about that. But I will say before I even get into that, just coming from a strength-based perspective, right, that I'm super grateful that the horrible experiences that I've had, have kind of been able to combat because I've had some awesome Black women as well.
Yeah. Yes.
I must keep it real, and say that the Black women that have been, I think, mainly nasty toward me have been people that were like administrators, and
Mm.
and the nastiness of that population in my experience far outweighs, the good people that I've had that were administrators in those positions that were Black women.
Yes.
So, yeah, just being very, very dismissive, being very just nasty. Like even this Black administrator like looked me up and down, never spoke to me, even though I spoke to her, but I checked out my feet all the way up to my curls. Okay. Like, and just never, and it was just nasty and just never spoke,
Wow.
a daily basis, um,
Wow.
yes. I remember another time the same person came into my office and like wanted information about my caseload. So if I'm sitting at my desk,
Mm-hmm.
she literally came and was hovering over me like physically, right? And so I exited out of my screen and I got up and I was like, hey, you need to sit over there. A, this is confidential information. B, I don't need you all in my space,
And that's intimidating too. Disrespectful.
girl. And
Yeah.
I'm not one to be intimidated. So
Right.
get on over there,
Right.
But why approach you in that way? Because you're all in my space being disrespectful and nasty and hovering. No,
Right. Right.
you
And
know.
you know better. You know better to be doing that.
Well, this is the thing. You should know better.
Yes.
What else has happened in multiple situations with this woman and someone else who was her boss that was also very nasty to me, because I
Mm-hmm.
would advocate myself. All it did was make they started acting worse toward me
Ooh.
because they're bullies toward other people. But I'm not the one. I'm a grown ass woman. You're not gonna bully me. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
My made them start acting that much more nasty,
Mm.
and went to the so to it rose to the limits of like going to staff relations. Like it was really bad,
Wow.
you know.
Wow.
And the
And you like,
general,
I'm just trying to do my job.
okay, A, do my job. B, I literally had to ask one of them one time, when did you get your master's in social work? Because
Wow.
yeah, you're trying to tell me how to do what you are not licensed by the school or the state to do. Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
no, right?
Right.
So also even in terms of, the importance of you being really set in who you are and knowing what you bring, but also knowing
Mm-hmm.
parameters. Because
Yeah.
I had another Black woman who was an administrator also and was in my department
Mm-hmm.
and really tried to have me do something that would have been very unethical. And even though it was something she had the power to do as an administrator, but myself as a PSW did not have the power. But it was
Mm.
something she, So she thought she would just tell me. And so I told her, no, I wasn't going to do it. And this is why, So
Mm-hmm.
even as a Black woman, and first as a Black woman, you should be looking out for another Black woman, straight
Yeah,
up. That's just me.
yeah,
In
yeah,
my,
yeah.
but also be as a Black woman that is an authority, a person of
Mm-hmm.
power, you also should not be trying to intimidate people that are under your leadership to do
Right.
things that you know are trouble, although you could do it and you won't get in trouble.
Oh no. Mm-mm.
It also another spin on like really having to be very, very on point, in terms
Mm-hmm.
that you need to do, because for someone else, maybe she would have told that to another clinician and they would have done it. But then
Yeah.
your is in jeopardy. I'm
Right.
not
Right.
I'm clear on what my parameters are. You're not going
Right. So kind of you're saying, LaTanya, that you were put in a situation where if you would have done it and negative consequences would have come onto you, you would have been flying out in the wind. You know what I mean?
to.
It would have been like, oh well, yeah.
Yeah,
So not having
no,
your
and
back.
not having your back, but it also speaks to the point of not only you have to have your own back, but you have to be
Mm-hmm.
willing to say no, even if it is someone, or really put somebody in their place, even if it is someone that is in a leadership role over you. Because
Yeah.
now you're gonna have my license in jeopardy, but you're telling me to do something that you know is out of pocket.
Uh-uh. Uh-uh. So knowing your worth and
So
standing your ground and speaking up.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell the audience what does PSW stand for if they don't know?
Psychiatric social worker.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's
So
acronyms in mental health.
right. Right. So LaTanya, as that experience kind of unfolded, you said that you spoke up and it got worse, right? And it felt like it was just unmanageable. So you went to staff relations. Did it help when you went to staff relations?
There was a step before that. So before,
Okay.
because those two people that were administrators were not my administrators. Okay.
Mm,
They happened to be administrators at the location, at the school where I worked. Okay.
got it.
So I had my own administrator. So I had
Mm-hmm.
an administrator who's another Black woman. Surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sharing with her all these details and this and that back and forth. And she was just listening, like, I'm coming to you to vent. I don't need to vent to you. Like, it's your job to put these other heifers in their place, because you know what I'm saying? That's your job as an administrator, to support your team. Okay.
Yes.
So what ended up happening when I realized I wasn't getting any support from her either,
Wait,
what did I do?
can I go back? Can I go back a little bit, LaTanya? What was it like when you felt like you were not getting the support from a Black woman administrator who's your supervisor? What was it like for you?
It felt very disheartening, especially because this person, before she became my administrator, we had a personal relationship. So
Uh,
it felt very disheartening. It felt I felt very much betrayed. I
mm,
felt like, how hurt must she be that she basically is colluding, in my mind. If you don't stand up for someone, what's that quote by Dr. King? If you don't stand up for someone, like you're colluding with that. You agree
yeah,
with
you complicit. Yeah,
that,
yeah.
right? So it made me feel like legit. I was gonna be the last Black woman standing, and I damn sure was, And so, but it shouldn't even be that way, right? Like,
Right.
it's that way. Like, in times when I've been an administrator, I don't care what color is. If you're,
Mm-hmm.
it's my job to support you, point blank, and the period. Now, if you're
Yeah.
a Black woman, to me, outside of whatever, I'm gonna tell you a quick funny story too. Outside of whatever the roles are, I'm still gonna look out for you, because why? You look just like me. Like,
Right.
I don't, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
so yeah, that it felt really bad, but it also felt like, okay, you know, I'm still gonna get this handled, because I'm not the one to be treated this way. So that
Mm,
particular person, my administrator told me, she said, oh, well, people get treated like this all the time in the district. And I said, that doesn't have a damn thing to do with me,
right.
but
So that
that's,
means you should too.
yeah. And also, you're, as my administrator, you're basically allowing this to happen. So what I
Wow.
started to do, like, I end up taking notes, date, this happened, this person was there, this person said, a lot of work, but I had all these notes. Why? Because I was about to consult with an attorney,
Ooh.
and notes was information and things that I had with my administrator.
Uh-huh.
So when I said, once I showed her those notes, she wanted to then be helpful Hannah, because she
Mm,
realized she was a part of that, you know what I'm saying? That she was not
right.
doing anything, and that was not going to be her job. You're not supposed to let me sit here and be abused, you know?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that felt really bad. It also felt bad that once you saw that your name and stuff was in the documentation, now
Mm-hmm.
it also felt very disgusting. Like,
Ah,
you know what I'm saying? And so,
yeah.
even to the point, this same person, when I had, now you've known me, what, 15 years, Kamani,
Yeah.
probably. You keep it a stack. If I do something wrong, I'm going to own it. If I do
Mm-hmm.
something right,
Right.
and in the documentation, I had put something that my administrator said, and she,
Mm-hmm.
to my open face, but she denied saying it once she read it in the documentation.
Wow.
Also really showed me who you really were. You know,
Wow.
again, granted, like I told you, she and I had a prior personal relationship, so
Yeah.
I knew some personal things she was going through. So I tried to give her how
Mm-hmm.
grace does not mean that I let me get treated poorly.
Right.
No,
Right.
you're getting
Right.
out of my pay grade to support me.
Right. Right. Right.
So, yes, it just felt disgusting. So what happened was, she then took told her administrator that I was going to be consulting with an attorney, and her administrator said, well, that's her right, you know. And so then she said, okay, well, now there's all these steps. Go to staff relations. We're going to file this and do this. So
Ah,
help me navigate those pieces. But it was after you knew that your drawers was in a bunch.
right. Like the damage was done, right? In terms of your respect and everything, right? Feeling like this person have your back. But now you're just going through the channels, right? In terms of
Yeah.
taking care of what you need to take care of it to really protect yourself.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, so anyway, that was just, so that really for me, basically at one time in one school year, it was 3 Black women that were basically against me.
Ooh, that's horrible.
It was,
That's horrible.
it was horrible,
Yeah.
and one of the Black was, like basically trying to tell me, just, I'm not going to go into all the detail, but just say, tell me to do A. And she told me this in front of her boss, who was another Black woman. And I said, no, I'm not, because A is not required. So then she's like, no, you need to. I'm like, I've already told you I'm not doing that. Right. So
Wow.
that was her administrator told her that I was right. So then that only made her come at me more, because now the person
Oh
that you're
my gosh.
with me in this situation, because I'm right. It was just, you couldn't win for, and it just really spoke to, yikes, just the depth of pain and disgust that they
Yeah.
just feel for folks.
Absolutely. And then at no point do they self-correct, right? My bad. I'm sorry. I should have been there for you. Nothing, right? So
Oh,
LaTanya, I was with you during that process, but I just want the audience to know, what impact did that have on you, that
you know,
experience?
well, okay. I think for me, um, how my brain and my spirit are set up, I think that in any situation, there's a few things that it kind of hits me the same way, in terms
Mm-hmm.
of, it's a reminder of how never to be that way, and how never,
Mm.
you know.
Yes. Yes. Like, example in a
So
negative way, right? So this is what I do not want to be as a leader. Yes.
you can
Yes.
look at people and, oh, I really admire that quality. I want to be like that. And you can do that. You can also look at people and say, I do not admire that, and I won't ever be able to
Okay.
do that. You
Yes.
know?
Yes.
So that piece, I also think it made me really like, and again, you know me for a long time, who I am. I really am a lover. I'm really an advocate. I'm going to pump you
Hmm.
up when you don't even see yourself, no pumpability. I'm saying that's just my get down, right? So on the other side of that, it also made me continue to go harder at being LaTanya. It made
Mm.
me continue to just go harder, because unfortunately, low key, we're a dying breed. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of women that are horrible to other Black women, see
Yeah.
it as competition, jealousy,
Yes.
whatever. And then there are those of us like you and I that like, dude, I want you to be bomb. Because I feel like if you're bomb, I'm bomb, right? Like, I
Right.
want you to, but yeah,
But you being bombed
but
doesn't take away from me being bombed. You know what I'm saying? It's not like
oh,
a limited supply.
it's bombness. No, you know what I'm saying? Because like in the beginning, I'm bombing my lane. You could be bombing your lane. And guess what? When you both are really bombing, really helping, you can be bombed in a lane that you create together and collaborate. You
Yes.
know?
Yes.
So on so
Yes.
many levels. Oh, I think you're frozen, Kamani. Are you frozen?
Oh, am I? Can you see me now?
Lord. Okay. Well, you're
Can you
frozen.
see me?
Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
So yeah, so like I was saying, I don't know if you caught that, but I'm like, when you're both, bomb in your own lanes, you guys can come together and be bomb and collaborate and create.
Absolutely. And guess what? When we collaborate, we help the community, right? And just think about in terms of mental health professionals, we are a small portion of the pie, right? And so what is it like? Was it like 8-9% social workers are Black,
I think you're frozen
4%
again.
psychologists are Black, 2% psychiatrists are Black. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Did you hear
Okay,
me?
yeah. The last stats I like, yes.
You said the last stats what? LaTanya, can you hear me? Can you hear me? LaTanya, can you hear me? I think we're having some connection issues. Let's see. Try to. LaTanya. Okay. Okay. So, LaTanya. Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
I'm back.
Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Technology, crazy
Okay.
stuff happens, right?
Yeah, I can't hear.
So, okay. So you were saying, okay, so I was just saying that when we are all bound together, our community benefits, right? So we are able to help our community better because there's not that many Black mental health professionals, right? And we know the stigma of mental health in our community. And so we really we need all hands on deck, right? And so when we think about if there's a small percentage of us, even in the field, wouldn't we want to collaborate to help our community? And I think you were saying something about the stats too, because I think maybe I had the stats off.
Oh yeah, and I could have them off, but I'm not for sure about the total number of Black mental health professionals, but I do know that in terms of like Black psychologists, it's only like 2% in the field, and so that doesn't include, LCSWs, MFTs, LMHCs, all the other Black professionals that we have in mental health. But bottom line is that just being racially the minority, we're automatically going to be the minority professionally, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so it's that we just align together and also really talk about these issues. That's why I love your platform, because I feel like a lot of things we talk about behind closed doors among other, but like when I talk to like my Latino homegirls, they have the same things in their culture as well,
Wow.
be it Mexican or Cuban or whatever, they experience the same types of things. And so
Yeah,
and it's just disgusting. Like, why
it
can't
is.
like come together, love each other, and propel forward? That's what I'm saying. Like the whole, like I brought up before, Willie Lynch and just
Yeah.
this, and really, really thinking about the healing that you need, because you can heal some. So again, a part back to shameless plug for Soul Care for Black clinicians, and why we do what is because we also believe in the fact that we need to be healthy to heal other people. If I'm not
Absolutely.
going and I'm not, getting my own healing, because I'm a regular person too, not just a therapist,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm what I need to be healed, then any kind of support that I'm giving you is going to be skewed and unhealthy.
Yes.
It's going to perpetuate horrible, disgusting tendencies in our community. Like that's
Yes.
the vision. That's not,
Yes.
you know.
And you know what's so crazy and what's so very sad about it, particularly for mental health professionals, right? That we are taught to have a certain level of self-awareness, self-assessment. So particularly when Black people, Black women in the mental health field act this way, it makes me very concerned. I'm thinking, are you totally disconnected from what you're doing? Because I can clearly see what's happening. And are you just totally not aware of it? It's very
Well, you know,
disturbing.
guess what? No, they're not aware. Because like I said before, if you are out of alignment with yourself, with your
Mm-hmm.
soul, with your creator, you're not
Yeah.
going to even be able to see that you
Yeah.
are being so disrespectful to someone that really should be treated like your sister. Someone that,
True.
you know what I'm saying? You can't see that because you're already blind. You're already walking
Yeah.
with a different type of lens. Again,
Yeah.
it's so healthy to get our healing. But also, I think the other part is too, it's also really difficult sometimes for us to be vulnerable. And so,
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable with yourself and about what you need, you definitely can't even be vulnerable and open yourself up to even be empathetic to how what you're doing is impacting someone else who has
Yeah.
like you.
Yes. And you know, it's interesting, LaTanya, because it sounds like my dissertation, right? So my dissertation was about social comparison jealousy among African American women, right? And how there's like this prejudgment process. And I think what happens with a lot of us or some of us is that we get in situations and we feel like there can only be one Black person or a few Black people. And who are my threats, right? And so that person, are they going to overshine me? So then I need to kind of put them down so I look greater, which is
Yeah.
very distorted. And so it kind of comes out in these ugly ways. And you're right. It's more of just like this sense of threat. And we have a sense of threat. We respond and we don't really process it. And you're talking about a total disconnection from who you are. So you said
Yes.
also, LaTanya, that, and girl, you're trying to motivate me to write a book about my dissertation. But anyway, um,
Yes,
going
I've been
back.
told you that time, and you need him while we that's forthcoming. That's the remix of your dissertation because it's just
Absolutely.
fact, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you said you had a story. You said, go, I have a story. Go back. Remember?
Not about in the workplace, but just to the point of how I'm always going to support Black women, period, point blank, right?
Yes.
So I had, long story, I had an issue with one of my neighbors, so I had to call the city and whatever. So when the city came out, the person, and I knew she was a sister, the person I had been conversing with, right? But when she came to my house, I was like, man, what's up, right? So we just had a cool connection. And so when she came out, where she had to go was like in my backyard, right? And so she came through the backyard, and then all of a sudden, so she came in a city vehicle, okay? And so this truck that I had never seen before, like stopped in front of my house and yelled her name, right? So my hood tendencies kicked in. Okay, we're from LA. We don't do a whole, you know what I'm saying? So as she goes out my gate to see who's calling her, I'm right there with her. Because why? Not only are you another Black woman, but you're on my property. Ain't nobody can
Right.
but you on my property.
Right.
I'm saying.
Right.
And after that, she was like, man, you a real one. Like you came, and it ended up being somebody that she knew, someone that
Okay.
was actually my neighbor, but like on the that I did not know. But when they saw her
Okay.
city, figured it was her, and they had been calling her too. And they were,
Uh,
I didn't know who these people were. You're not gonna get, you know what I'm saying?
yes.
I just said that to say, like, how I get down with someone that I had just met in person that day. So how I'm about
Mm-hmm.
to treat somebody that I know and love. I'm not coming for them unless you're coming for me too.
Oh,
That's just what
yes.
it is,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
To share that just to the point of the parallel, like we, should not just be looking at taking care of Black women in the workplace, but
Mm-hmm.
period.
Exactly.
Black women
Exactly.
are. Whether you think a stranger finna come to your property for somebody you don't even know, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You just
Exactly.
we're supposed to look, my belief, we're supposed to look out for each other. That's just
Absolutely.
is, you know.
Absolutely. And LaTanya,
And
how did that
and to
situation
this,
end up at the work situation?
uh-oh.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay, yes. What'd you say?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So how did that situation end at that toxic work situation with those three Black women that you talked about?
So how it ended was, oh, first of all, one of the women there that I said was not my administrator, she tried to write me up for something that, hey, you're not my administrator. You can't write me up for. You were totally picking on me. But guess
Right.
what? When Black woman administrator that was my administrator, she still never checked her for that. She told me she had to put that in my file. How do you put that in my file? And
Wow.
she's not even my administrator to write me up,
Right.
you know? So,
Right.
so when that happened though, I didn't even care. I know God has this. And what ended up
Hmm.
happening again, how my God is set up after that whole situation of her trying to write me up and whatever, trying to basically hold me down, even though she didn't know where I was going. You don't have any
Okay.
realm over in my
For
life,
real.
okay?
For real.
None. But after that situation where she probably expected me to come back and still work there next year, what happened? I got promoted. I became an administrator that was on the same level as she was, okay?
Okay.
So sometimes we have to go
In your face, right?
and what?
In your face.
In
In
your
your face.
in your face, in your ugly face as a kid, you know. And but yeah, and so sometimes we have to go through the fire, and it's a
Yeah.
part of going to the next level, right? But
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
to see that I had to experience that with other Black women that
Hmm.
should have really been supporting and pushing and just, and even if you don't want to support me, I don't, because you know how I get, I don't really need your support, okay? But
Right.
if you don't, stay in your lane and just be friendly, just be
Right.
cordial, you know?
Right.
It's
Right.
so much energy to be nasty. And so why do that when you can really exert no energy and just be cordial, be professional,
Okay. Right.
you know?
Right. Right. It doesn't take nothing away from you. It doesn't take away your job. Right. And I think also, LaTanya, when you talk about that, people not being aligned with themselves, I think it's also just an insecurity and that sense of their job now defines who they are. Their job title defines who they are. And I've always felt like, wow, I mean, a job or, sometimes that's what I do, but that's not who I am. Right. So
I
that is
feel
very disturbing that people become defined.
Yeah, and I think that even beyond becoming defined, because you bring yourself to your job,
Hmm.
right? So
Right.
before we
Right.
stop defining you, I think that it really shows that your unhealed places are leaking out, irrespective of what job you
Yes. Leaking
have,
out. Exactly.
leaking
All
out.
over the
So,
place.
yuck, leaking, oozing, you know.
Ooh.
And so,
Yes.
so irrespective of however you feel about your job, my belief is that we bring ourselves to our job. So no matter, we
Yes.
bring ourselves everywhere we go. So whether
Yes.
I work with you, work with you, you work in my business, I see you at the beauty supply, wherever you bring yourself, right? And so
Yes.
I'm a person, and so it doesn't matter. Sometimes people do have things going on, and people
Mm-hmm.
treat people has nothing to do with them, right? But at the
Mm-hmm.
same, yourself into every situation. So if this is
True.
the experience everybody has with you, and it was so
Yes.
funny. So in this position with these two Black women, one of them I had to interact with her more. The one that wrote me up and was hovering over me and
Mm.
all that. But how about it was so bad, everybody knew it. So in that job,
Oh.
I had been at that job 4 or 5 years, maybe 4 or 5 years.
Mm.
But this year. So prior to that, I had male administrators. I've never had any drama with male administrators ever. It's
Mm.
always been Black women. Okay.
Mm.
And so this is their first year there, and they raised hell and havoc, and not just with me, but with other people. But
Right.
bad and I had established some friendships there, people that I still talk to today, and I haven't
Mm-hmm.
worked with them in 7 years because we established a relationship, right? But they were
Mm-hmm.
primarily Latino males, and then there was a Latino woman, and
Hmm.
they could even see how poorly that lady treated me. And it was like,
Wow.
at one point, like one of them was like, "Hey, she's just clearly jealous of you, you know." And this is a man, and that says a lot because
Mm.
men, and they're not even tripping on stuff with women.
Right.
But it shows you how pervasive, probably is the
And
right word.
blatant.
That
It was so
yeah,
blatant. Yeah.
yes, and what I'm saying, and public for other people to
Mm.
even know. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I said this too. One time we were going to visit another school, and because of the different roles that we had, like this particular person was going, who I told you about, the administrator, I was
Mm-hmm.
going, and then two of my colleagues who were Latino males were going. So one
Mm-hmm.
of them, he hit me aside, he said, "Hey, why don't you drive us all there?" And he busted out laughing. I'm like, "I'm not having that demon in my truck." Hey, I'm not having that demon in my truck. So of course he was the one that ended up driving all of us there. But it just shows you how bad, if, like I said, men typically are not really perceptive about issues between women.
Mm-hmm.
But if
Yes.
men were able to bring that to me, yeah, it tells you right there how bad it was.
Ooh. Exactly. Exactly. And I see a comment in the chat. It says, I'm learning that it's some people's job to push us out our personality and into our purpose. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Bless them all and keep it moving. Yes, girl. There are so many people I could just say thank you from afar, right? For making
Yeah.
my job so miserable that I was like, I'm out, right? But it made me closer. It helped me obtain clarity. It helped me recognize who has my back and who doesn't. And it pushed me closer to my purpose. So that is so true. We can thank them from afar, though,
Yes. And you know
and keep on
what else
moving.
I think a relevant point to that, it makes me think about how in the Bible it talks about, I'm always going to be in the spiritual piece, and the
Hmm.
soul can, right? So in the Bible it talks about how our enemies will be our footstool.
Yes. Yes.
That is absolutely what had transpired there.
Yeah.
Definitely a footstool to move forward and to continue to progress toward the plan that God already had for me. So
Yes.
being ugly, and you're going to pay for being ugly to me. Thank you for letting God use you, though. you know
Okay. Right. You helped me out. You helped me out, right? Yes. You got me out of a place that I did not belong. And so
yeah.
that part is healing in that way. But we have to go through a lot of mess. And the good thing too, LaTanya, is that we have good sister friends like you who can help us out that process, right? So I just remember when I was going through my struggles, right? And how you were there for me throughout, right? And you kept telling me, you don't belong there. They don't deserve you. You deserve so much better. And you called out things, right? And the beauty about you too, LaTanya, is that you saw something in me that I didn't see in myself at the time. And you pushed me, right? In a gentle, not gentle way, right? You pushed me forward, but it was a good thing. I needed that. And
Yeah.
so just thinking about when we think about who's in our circle, who's around us, we have to be very mindful of who's around us because everybody in our boat is not rowing with us. They're poking a hole for us to sink, right? So we have to look at who's in our boat. And, as you were talking, I was just thinking about the experience that I've had with Black women that have been negative in the workplace it's less so been an administrator. I mean, there have been some issues, right? But less so with another administrator. It was more so with someone who I thought was my peer, right? And so that's why it was more like what's happening here. And I think that's part of my own belief in sisterhood. I kind of clouded over me seeing certain things. And
Yeah.
particularly because, at Spelman, they just emphasize sisterhood. And I'm like, I love sisterhood, right? So when I see another Black woman, and if we have common interests, I want to work with you. Like, I want to align with you. I want to see what we can do to uplift the community, right? And so I think that kind of innocence, maybe in a way, or being naive, really blinded me to some things that I should have been aware of earlier on, right? So just comments that were made, like very it sounded like almost like a predator, in terms of the comments. So, one of the comments was, I've already sized you up. So I know what you're good at and what you're not good at. And I was like, whoa, I was taken aback. Like, who would say that?
yeah,
That you have sized me up, right? And so again, I'm trying to give grace to this person because they're a Black woman and they're in the mental health field. So I'm thinking, well, maybe they didn't mean it in that way, right? So again, not paying attention to the signs, which I should have paid attention to. And so the second thing that really stood out to me was when we were being like public venues together, and this person would say, because I've always been very vocal about things, particularly when I see a system that's dysfunction, I'm going to call it out, right? So generally, it's not just one thing, it's a whole system, and I'm going to call it out. And so I've been very vocal in doing that. And that ties into the third thing I'm going to share. So when I did that, this person would say in a public forum, oh, Kamani doesn't care. She doesn't want to promote. She doesn't want to promote. She could just say whatever, right? So I'm thinking, okay, now that's weird. Like, is she throwing me under the bus? So my response was, yeah, I don't want to promote. I don't want to promote into a burning house. No, I don't want to be a part of this toxic system. I don't want to promote. But why are you saying this in front of other people, right? And then the third thing that really, this was the kind of the nail in the coffin, right? So, and you already know the story. So things happened. I was very vocal about the system and how dysfunctional it was, calling out certain things. Didn't call out people, but very clear who was involved, right? And so as I did that, I got a lot of pushback, right? And a lot of push out to the point where they eventually cut my position, right? And so they told me that I was demoted, right? And so that whole thing was weird, and that's a whole nother conversation, right? So I was demoted. And so when I was demoted, this person, now when she finds out, she comes to me and she says, word on the street is that your position got cut. That was the first thing she said to me after all this had happened. And I'm thinking, wow, now I'm already trying to deal with what happened. What does this mean? Right. And then you're like, word on the street. So that means people are talking about me. That means my business out on the street. And then where's the empathy or compassion here? Right. And so for me, when that happened, I told you about it. Yeah. That was for me confirmation, like this person does not have my back. Yeah. Right. This person is trying to hurt. I'm already kind of kicked down, but not really, because guess what? You got promoted into a burning house, right? I got promoted to a place like you talked about, you can't even touch, right? So God has a bigger purpose for me and I'm going further, but you are trying to like gloat about being in the burning house and you're trying to kick me when you think I'm down, right?
Let me piggyback on where you are, because remember, I had some issues with the same person that you're talking
about. Yes.
And interestingly enough, where to me, what matters to me is being alignment, A, with God, B, with myself, C, with my people, okay? And D, with good people, irrespective of whether you're Black or not, good people on that side. I have that. Yes. However, that is not everybody's, thought process. So this person that you're talking about that got promoted to the burning house, they just want to be kind of if you said the in crowd or the big, whatever, they just wanted to be a part of the burning house, not worried about their people. And truthfully, in my opinion, and who am I, but if you're not worried about your people, you ain't worried about yourself.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Hello. Right. And if you see what the system has done to people, think about Rosanna, right? Our previous Rosanna, right? So we all saw what happened to her. So what makes you think that first of all, why would you want to be a part of that system, right? And why would you promote another Black woman being pushed down by that toxic, dysfunctional system?
And also you gloated, like almost like I made it to the burning house, you didn't, kind of thing. It's like, I mean, and then the people miss out on is like we talked about, like with Rosanna, and even in this situation with you, is that if it happened to one person, it could happen to you too. You're not any better than somebody else.
Absolutely. Yes. So I'm wondering, as we have had a very lively conversation and very honest conversation about, Black women, and, we really want us to be able to support one another so we can continue to rise, right? And so I'm wondering if both of us can share some tips in terms of maybe how we've healed individually, and what tips do we have for other Black women who may be in that situation in which they've been harmed, or like you said too, which is beautiful, those who are doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think for those of you that are perpetuating this despicable, disgusting behavior onto other Black women, get your life. Go get your healing therapy. You know what I'm saying? Because when you know that you've like been hurt with somebody, or that, you know.
Yes.
So I know for me, I'll circle back and be like, hey, that's not even my intention, but I felt some kind of way when I said X to
Yeah.
you. I apologize, right? And
Yeah.
so if you know you're out of pocket, get your life, go to therapy, really be mindful and be vulnerable with the people in your circle who can also tell you, like, yeah, you say this and this and this to me, or yeah, I heard you when you talked about your coworker and that just sounded really
Mhm.
bad. Like
Yeah.
enough with yourself and also with people in your life that can support you in being better, right?
Mm. Hmm.
Experiencing this, I think that it's important that you also get your healing, but you also take into account the women that are in your circle. So if you're
Yeah.
having women in your circle, like the person I had who told me people get treated like this all the time, you got to get the boot, because I
Yeah.
don't care what happens to what other people allow. LaTanya is not going to allow that. I don't treat
And,
people
and
that way.
I'm not, and I don't want to be aligned with somebody who wants me to think that I do.
And who want, right, because that just means that you think you do. And
Right.
you do, you're out of alignment with yourself, and
Yeah.
because you can't, that's a no me gusta. You know what I'm saying? Here. And you're allowing people to do any kind of way, right?
Right.
So I think also being really mindful about who's in your circle, being really
Hmm.
mindful about just really standing up for yourself and remembering that you're the daughter of a king and that
Yes.
you're treated as such, right?
Yeah.
And when you feel some kind of way about something, don't not only don't ignore it, but like Iyanla says, call a thing a thing. So,
Call a thing a thing. That's right.
so when you
That's right.
feel it, I'm a believer, women have a whole nother level of intuition, or I say intuition is the Holy Spirit,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
your first mind intuition, I'm a Christian, I say it's my Holy Spirit and I let
Hmm.
me, right? But when you know something doesn't feel right in your spirit, don't
Hmm.
sit, allow it, you know?
Yes.
And again, back to the people in your circle, be really mindful about people that can hear where you are and validate your experience. And not that you need validation, because I'm always going to say I don't need validation. And I will say that when somebody does validate something, okay, you just told me I wasn't crazy.
Right.
Like you
Right.
just
Right.
right or what I felt was true. Because so really don't get into a place where you're so good in your own skin that irrespective of what somebody else says or does, you can operate out of how it felt to you. So
Yes.
these people know and whatever. I didn't care that they were administrators. I didn't care about any of that because I knew that it was wrong. I stood my ground. Not only was it wrong for me as a person, but it was also wrong for me in the position I was in. So then you're also potentially putting my professional license at risk. I'm not doing.
Right.
You can put your
Right.
want to, but you can put mine at risk. You know,
Right. Right. Right.
mindful of that. Really being mindful that you are worthy to be treated with respect,
Hmm.
and even kind of to look at other relationships in your life. You might be in a relationship with a man or with your sister, your brother, whoever, your daddy, whoever that has not treated you well. So when you get into these workplace situations, it just feels normal to you. It feels
Mm.
normal, and you continue to allow yourself to be poorly because this is what happens in other areas of your life. That's why it's
Right.
important that you're whole and you get so that when something is out of bounds and something like this happens, you're like, this is out of pocket. I'm not dealing with it.
Right. Right. I
You
deserve better. right? I deserve better.
I am better and I deserve
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
myself is that, and I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, right? I'm but flesh, right? However, I know that I treat people very well. I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm very honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes, you are.
yeah, let's be too honest.
Boom. Yes, you are.
But I said all that to say that in those qualities that I exhibit towards and for other people,
Mm-hmm.
things reciprocated unto me. And
Yes.
while we can't control what other people do, I can control what I do for LaTanya. I control what I allow to happen to
Mm-hmm.
LaTanya, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
in place is a part of what I am in control of. I'm in control of being demanding that I'm treated with respect.
Yes, yes,
Right?
yes, yes. And the other part that you said too was so important in terms of really being aware of who's in your circle. Be
Yeah.
aware of who's in your circle, right? Are they uplifting you, or when you're around them, do you feel worse? That's a
Yeah.
sign. No,
Yeah.
those are people who do not belong in your circle. There
Right.
might be people you need to associate with for certain reasons, but don't allow them into your inner circle. Don't tell your personal business to them. The other thing is, when you've been hurt, like you said, acknowledge you've been hurt. It's okay to acknowledge you've been hurt, right? So a lot of times you're like, no, I got this. This person did. No, I got this, but we're hurting. And so how can you heal if you don't acknowledge you've been hurt? I heard a young woman say this. I love this quote. She said, you can't heal if you don't reveal. Right? You have to reveal you're hurting. And so it's
Yeah.
so important to do that. And you talked about getting help, getting therapy, right? So when we think about therapy, there's a whole bunch of places where you can find a Black therapist. I know a lot of us feel like, I don't want to go to somebody who don't look like me or who doesn't understand my experience. And just very briefly, you can find a Black therapist. If you have insurance, you go to your insurance provider. You can ask for a Black therapist. You can also go to Therapy for Black Girls. What's another one? Black Female Therapists, Psychology Today, the Boris Lawrence Henson
Even
Foundation.
even more simply, if you can remember these websites, you can also get to Google and just say Black women therapist near me. Straight up.
Yes,
It's
yes,
we are, if you need us, you can find us, but you have to be willing and be vulnerable with yourself to even know that you're open for therapy, and that's a whole
absolutely.
nother stigma, mental health and all that. And, anybody needs therapy. It's Black people, period,
Okay.
period.
We have gone through so much trauma, and we continue to go through trauma,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And just think about, what is it like to go through continual trauma and you've never gotten healed from it, right? So generation after generation after generation.
Yes.
Yes. And so our healing is essential. And that's why I do the work that I do. I know that's why you do the work you do, right? And you work with clinicians. So you think about, wow, I'm trying to help a body of people who are helping our community, right?
Yes.
And then my work is in terms of, how do we manifest healing individually and collectively? So me having this platform, this is me healing individually, right? So by me talking about my story, bringing other Black women, talking about their stories, I'm healing from that too, right? And the hope is that other Black women are seeing this and they're healing. And that's also what has motivated me to keep going and having these conversations, is that Black women have reached out to me and said, thank you for having this platform that we can speak our truth and that our experiences are uplifted and we feel like we're not alone and we're not crazy, because that gaslighting starts making you think that, did I do something wrong? What's wrong with me? And then the other thing is to know that healing is possible. Even though the stuff has happened to us, you and I are an example that we can still rise. And guess what? We're going to rise higher. Right? We're going to rise higher than we were before. So that's important. And then to remember that, it's important to speak our stories and to not be silenced about what happens to us. Many times when we speak up, like you just said, LaTanya, when you spoke up, they got worse, right? When I spoke up, I got demoted, right? So all these things, I didn't demoted, and that you saw the air, right?
Yeah.
I didn't get demoted really. I got promoted, right? But in that way, things might happen as you speak out, but never lose your voice. Never, ever, ever, right? These things happen to us. We are not victims. We are victors. We will continue to persevere. So LaTanya, as we're winding down, if you could share information about the services that you offer, particularly for Black people, and how people will be able to contact you.
Yes, ma'am. So again, I'm the founder and CEO of Soul Care for Black Clinicians, where we provide mental health services, coaching, consulting, and other wellness supports to Black healing professionals. So you can look for me at soulcareforblackclinicians.com. Also on Instagram is also Soul Care for Black Clinicians. And yeah, just out here and I do have people that are in my practice that are not clinicians and not other helping professionals. So basically, if you Black and we're good, we got you. You know, and my business is to really, really love on and change the trajectory of the Black family and the Black community.
Yes.
So I work with the people that I work with who are also working with those populations, because together, oh my God, how much more can we do to heal our people, right?
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, and so just really being mindful of that, and yeah, I hope that answers your question.
So you're about mental liberation and Black liberation, right? And it goes together because our minds got to be right so we can move forward and we can help one another, right? So that ties into my spiel, right? So lifting as we climb is that as I'm climbing, as you're climbing, we're reaching back and helping other Black people climb too, because me being liberated is not enough, right? We have to heal our whole community, and we have to be mindful of that. Yes, yes, yes. And then when you talked about, ways that you are also supporting healing, I also have a job coaching program for Black women who are in toxic jobs and maybe thinking about leaving. They don't might be ready to go, right? But they may be thinking about going. And so it helps you deal with and process and heal from the toxicity of that environment so you don't take it to the next environment, okay? And because the coaching program is open to anyone, you don't have to be in the state of California. So if you're interested in that, please contact me on my website, liftingasweclimbconsulting.com. Also, the previous videos that I've done focusing on Black women in the workplace, healing from toxic work environments, are available on my YouTube channel, Lifting As We Climb Consulting Wellness Services. And LaTanya, I think, will be uploading this onto her YouTube channel as well. And the name of your YouTube channel is the same name, Soul Care for Black Clinicians?
This is, okay, partial because I can't be trying to remember all this stuff. Okay, so yes, Soul Care for Black Clinicians. It's also my YouTube channel. The last video together is also already on that channel if you guys want to check that out. And I also wanted to drop another shameless plug. So I'm also the author of a book called Doing Single Well. And so, yes. And so it's for single Black women who are not even just trusting God for their husbands, but, I say that's the title, obviously, right? But I've had married people buy it. I've had men buy it because the overarching theme of the book is about trusting God in a season while you're waiting. And we're all something, right? And so there's reflection questions, there's places for you to journal at the end. And some of you that are on this call, you might be trusting God and waiting for him to get you to a new job, and so my book can still help you with that, because again, it's about trusting God while we're waiting. We're always in the wait, right? And so well, it's just another resource that's out there.
Beautiful. In fact, I was going to ask you to talk about your book and you jumped right to it. So you were on it. You were on it. Yes, yes. So as we're closing, I just want to say I appreciate you, LaTanya. You have been my sister friend for 15 years, going strong, right? And so for us to remember, if you're listening to this conversation, remember that we believe in sisterhood. We see the power of sisterhood. Hopefully you were able to see sisterhood in action. And so when we talk about these issues, it's not to trash other Black women at all. This is coming from a position of love, okay? That we see a problem, we're speaking out about a problem, and the hope is that things will get better. This conversation was actually sparked by people contacting me and saying, what about, or this happened to me from another Black woman. Can you talk about that? So that came from an interest. So if there's other topics related to toxic work environments that you would like to hear, you can DM me, on Instagram. So again, thank you all for joining today. Thank you to my sister friend. Yes.
I just thought about,
Yes.
girl, we are never going to end this call. So one thing we didn't talk about, and I'll just say it really briefly, is that in our last, the last time we did this together, I got so many calls from people that were like, oh my God, LaTanya, thank you for showing your authenticity. And I'm like, people that know me know this is how I show up anywhere that I am. I'm LaTanya, period. Okay.
Yeah.
But what it showed that how many of our sisters are wearing a mask, how many of them are
Yes.
their authentic selves, how many of
Yes.
them, it was probably like 8 calls, I'm not even exaggerating, probably was about, who all said the same. I thought it was very interesting, all said the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
Wow, you know, it just shows again how much hurt we are carrying around, because if you don't feel like you can even, you have to call somebody and I'll say give me accolades for me being in my authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, where are you, sis?
Girl, it's terrifying and it's very painful. It's heartbreaking, right? Because, as I was going through my struggles, the more I'm opening up about my struggles and my journey, my healing journey, the more Black women are coming, right? And people are like, wow, how are you finding these people? I'm like, they're coming to me. And so just thinking about what is it like every day as you go into your job and feel like you have to mask yourself for 8 hours a day, right? And then that takes a toll on you because once you leave the job, you deal with the residual of having to wear a mask all day. And you're trying to recoup from that.
And also, like I said several times during this, you know, setting, was how misaligned you are with
Yeah.
yourself.
Yes.
Can't even, I just can't even imagine that. And so it speaks to the healing that, you know, our sisters need to do, and that
Yeah.
the collaborative efforts like that we're doing that need to continue, and also
Yeah.
the work you're doing with the platform that you've created for these conversations to happen is amazing, you know. And I'm really proud of you for stepping out and doing that, you know. But I'm gonna say this for those of y'all that don't know, this is not Kamani. This is Kamani 2.0. Okay.
I'm not the imposter right now.
Yes. But just to the point of stepping into the lane that God had created,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
doing that, and how, you know, you are being authentic as well in
Mm-hmm.
experiences and coming here and facilitating these conversations. But it just spoke, and I remember sharing this with you, like it just spoke out to me, like, I can't believe how many calls I'm getting where people are like praising me for me being authentic. Who the hell else am I about to be? Like, right?
Right.
But it just shows you how many other people are really obviously not doing that. And
Yeah.
I want to say this to the point, we're going to close. I promise y'all, we're going to close. I want to say this. I want to share this very short story, okay, about
Mm-hmm.
your authenticity. If you
Mm-hmm.
see me somewhere else or you follow me, you probably heard me share this story before, because I said it before. I'm going to say it 500 more times. So when I'm always myself. I'm going to be on Oprah one day, and this is going to be what appears, because this
I'll be with you, girl. I'll be with you.
and yourself, okay? Your authentic self. So the importance of being yourself. So, you know, working on my PhD now. Prior to that, I was in this other doctoral certificate program, right? And I was in class one day and I spoke out and I asked a question because I didn't understand what was happening. And so
Mm-hmm.
I got an email from this woman who I had never seen before. You know, I'm an only child. You know, I know how to navigate. Yeah, you too. I know how to navigate. I try to make my dreams come true. You know, I don't need validation. Like, I know how to just do what I need to do by myself and keep it moving.
Uh-huh.
So I said all that to say, I asked this question in class, and then pretty soon I get an email from this woman, and she says, LaTanya, I'm in your, you know, it was lab, psychology lab.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I'm in your research lab class, and because of how you asked this question, I think our brains work the same. Can we work together?
Hmm.
I hit her back. I said, let's hook up and see what it do, right? We connect. This is a Native American woman who has now become a very good friend of mine. We've been working together now for 2.5 years, you know.
Wow.
story because if I went to that lab class, you know, trying to be Miss Fancy Pants or whoever, not being myself, she would have never reached.
Yeah.
She reached
True.
because of my authenticity. I was being LaTanya.
Yes.
And we worked
Yes.
every single semester. We don't take classes without each other. We talk day like this is my girl now. But all is
Yes.
I was in my authenticity, and
Yes.
she realized that her authenticity was in connection with mine. We do things
Yes.
the same way. But
Yes.
God has people, you're aligned to people and people are aligned to you. And if you really
Mm-hmm.
your God-given purpose, you have to be yourself because
True.
God is to you and you're not being who he created.
Yes.
It's gonna
Yes.
happen, you know. So
Yes.
importance of being authentic, you know, being in your authenticity and really being yourself and being okay with that, like not having to put on any airs, any fronts, whatever. Just do you, and the right people will
Yes.
come to you. Again, going back to the right people that are in your circle, you know, and now
Yes.
in our friendship, we're real friends. It's not even
Yes.
work, you know,
Yes.
but it started with me being myself. So
Yes.
want to just impart that upon people, just the importance of really being who God created so that you can get in connection and have the people in your circle who God intends, you know,
Yes.
to come to you if you're not being you, because they're only going to
Yes.
be drawn to who he intends. And that authenticity has to be there in order for those.
Yes. Yes. And then you talked about that alignment, right? So you have to be aligned and know who you really are and know that we're all in our own lane, right? Just because you're shining doesn't mean the next person can't shine. We're all in our own lane. And it's so funny. Okay, we are going to wrap up soon. But it's so funny you said, it's my girl. So anyway, it's funny that you said about authenticity, right? Because I used to honestly think there was something wrong with me, that I could not pretend like I liked people that I didn't like. So like if I had something in my energy and my vibe, God was telling me something's not right with this person or there's something evil about, like I could not be
Yeah,
cool with this person, right? And I used to think that something was wrong with me. I used to think that I couldn't play the game, and people would actually say that, well, you're not playing a game. You don't need to. And I used to think there was something wrong with that.
yeah,
But no, it's not. It's my soul, my spirit
yeah,
will not allow me to align with people who are doing evil, right? People who are harming others. And so it's important, and I'm saying this to the audience, is that do not badger yourself or criticize yourself for the message that God is giving you, right? God is telling you this for a reason.
yep.
Pay attention to it.
Follow it.
Pay attention to it. Yes. 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 Okay, this is the last thing I'm gonna say for real. So so I remember, and I appreciate my dear friend for this too. So you told me many, many years ago, and I always remember this. You said, be obedient to God. Be obedient. I must be obedient, right? And that has sustained me for so long, right? Because when things have happened around me, I knew deep down, I don't belong here, right? This doesn't affirm me. I've known that, right? This doesn't affirm my worth. I've known that. And I could hear the voice of God telling me, right? But I was scared, right? And so fear, you talked to me a lot about fear, and faith and all that. So that would be a whole nother conversation. But just the ask for all of us is that we are obedient to what God is telling us and that we are aligned with the purpose that God has for us. So, okay, we're going to stop now because maybe we have another part, right? But we're going to stop for
Thinking about faith and fear because you know how I live my life, okay? So, yeah.
that might be part 3, right? So I want to thank everyone for tuning in today, and let you know that I'll be back again on Monday with continuing these conversations. If you want to see all the other conversations, please go to my YouTube channel, Lifting Us with Cloud Consulting Wellness Services. If you want to contact my dear friend, LaTanya Tolan, please contact her. Her business name is Soul Care for Black Clinicians. So everyone, have a good rest of your day. And I hope to see you next week.
All right. Blessings.
Bye.
Bye.